My background was that initially I come through the industrial side as a metallurgist and went from there to computers on process control. And it's only a small step, process control of industrial applications to control of body. So it was natural that when I got diabetes, I sort of went back to my process control and started treating my body. I discovered I had diabetes by my own administrations. I actually read an encyclopedia and I realised that of the 9 symptoms that they had recorded there, I had 7 of them. Consequently, I went and told my doctor I had diabetes, and he said, "Oh." And I insisted on a blood test. Well, anyone that knows anything about the figures, I was 32.0 blood sugar. And they were looking for me to put me into hospital. Sport has always been a big factor in my life. I've played a lot of sports. I've coached 5 different sports for juniors. But my one love is squash. That could explain why I owned a squash court for squash centre for 15 years, and that kept me pretty fit. And it was while I was in the squash centre that I developed diabetes. But because of the fact that I was reasonably fit, even though I'm relatively big and heavy, I was still fit, and I think this is mostly what enabled me to combat the diabetes. As well, it helped me. The word I'm trying to say is to diet. It's a 4-letter word as far as I'm concerned, but I always had a sweet tooth. I had a bad combination of working behind a counter and having a big bunch of lollies handy, and I couldn't always resist it. And I used to eat a lot of lollies, even when I was diabetes plus. So I had to work hard on it. Even though the sports helped me, and particularly squash, I still feel that the number one major contribution to sugar levels going up is emotions. Irrespective of what the emotions are, they can be a positive one or a negative one. And I still feel my sugars go up. Not I feel, I know my sugars go up. I have recorded 300% rises in sugar because of adrenaline flow on a squash court, particularly when there's something goes wrong, you question a decision, you don't get what you want, you get angry, and as soon as you get angry, the adrenaline flow comes in and far outweighs the effect of insulin. And as I said, I have 10 times definitely had rises of 300%. I sort of want to share this particular thing because I haven't read or seen too much about the effect of emotions. And everyone says, go for a walk, do some exercise. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's not the exercise that does the job. It's the shedding of stress and emotions whilst you're walking that has the ultimate effect. I've tried several other different things that basically should have affected my diabetes, but they didn't. They affected my health in other positive ways. Some of them I've retained, some I haven't. Then along came Elleotin, and to me it was just another try at something that might or might not work. I started taking it, and after 4 days, I felt a change. I felt my sugars were starting to improve. And I found this hard to believe, but as I kept taking it, and I eventually took it for 2.5 months, my sugars improved. Consequently, I started cutting down on my medication that I had been on, diaformin, diamicron, and a small shot of insulin that I had been taking, the long-acting insulin, that I had to take at 2 p.m. on one afternoon for it to work for me at 4 a.m. the next morning. Because doing tests, I'd found out that I went up in sugar significantly between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. And I found that if I wiped this out, I was right for the rest of the day and my medication would hold. Consequently, taking the Eleotin, I halved that amount of insulin, went from 40 to 20. I cut out 1 diamicron and 2 diamorphin, which is a considerable amount. Sugar levels pre-Eleotin were up and down quite considerably, with big spikes. Up sometimes 14, 15, all depending on what I'd eaten, and the fact I couldn't keep my mouth shut. And sometimes it was sweets, sometimes bread, sometimes fried rice, which I shouldn't touch. But these peaks of 15 just don't occur now. And I find that there's a level at which it cuts out, and I call it a level at which I maintain. I don't think I get a spillover of sugar into my urine, which is at 10.2. And I call this eutectic level. Whether it's right or wrong, that's coming from my metallurgical background. But now, 10.2 is not my normal maximum, irrespective of what I eat. Yep. As you can see from this plate, this isn't what you should be eating if you're a diabetic. Now, yesterday I had that plus a big piece of chocolate cake. That was my grandson's 5th birthday. Now I had that and said, okay, I'll have to have a needle. 2 hours later, I was 8.4. Now 8.4 is nothing. I would have said 12 to 15. I contribute this to, or attribute this to the Eleotin. And today, this morning, when I got up, I do my regular test this morning. This morning, 6.9. It's unbelievable. And I still think the Eleotin is doing it for me. Now, I haven't been taking it for 5 weeks because I've had another external sickness I've been taking antibiotics for, so I don't have it, just for the conflicting results from the two things. I want to get back onto some Eleotin because it is proving positive.